Hi, and welcome to yet another Bedrock webinar. We're going to be focusing on narrowing the gap, how Bedrock can address learning loss at this crucial time. I'm Alex. I'm an English teacher. I've done a master's in parent engagement, and I worked with a number of you over the 4 years I've been at Bedrock. So it's really, really good to see you today. We've got Camilla as well.
Hi everyone, I'm Camilla. Probably met you at some point over email or phone. I'm one of the customer success managers here, so I've worked very closely with a lot of you over the last few years as well.
We have broken down the webinar into 4 sections. So, we thought this is a really, really good time to, looking back. It's World Book Day tomorrow. All students are going back to school next week. So we're going to have a look at where we are at and where we're heading. So, I often turn to the Oxford Language Report because it captures your views. Having looked at over 2,000 views. Hi Estelle, hi Diana, hi Tara. It's really, really insightful of where we're at in the UK and across the UK. So unsurprisingly, over half of you believe students spent less time reading over lockdown 2020. The view is that 90% of you think that the word gap will have widened over the last year, unsurprisingly again. 9 out of 10 of you believe that lack of vocab practice and reading for pleasure at home is a cause for the word gap. And 75% of you believe that year 7s will struggle with subject and academic vocabulary due to the disruption in year 7. At the best of times, that transition is difficult. And just to finish off, 3/4 of you believe that supporting vocabulary is going to be a high priority going back with all students. So we really want to support you with that. Just to set the scene again, we all know and are very well aware where we're at. So I really want to focus on the positives today. But I'm just going to read that final box. I think it's very powerful. It comes from the EPI's annual report for 2020. Hi, Caroline. Hi, Kerry. So I'm just going to read it out because it really it puts me into gear. I don't know about you guys, but progress in closing gaps has been stalling over the last 5 years, and it is now widening. It is important that we act on the data in front of us and significantly change the education system, and in turn make for a fairer society. That is very powerful, and by using Bedrock, you are genuinely closing those gaps. The impact analysis and progress data speaks for itself. And that middle part, I was really drawn to because it's really important to us that we're supporting students, but equipping teachers and empowering you as teachers to really reinforce what you're doing in the classroom, as well as engage parents and the wider community. Now, that outward facing strategy is going to be really crucial. And just to show you this, and anything that we show you in this webinar, we will share with you after the webinar. This is a really nice document put together for students just to really show them how Bedrock supports them in their learning. And sometimes it's nice just to remind them of the processes that they're going through and how important they are. You'll notice it says literacy is key to learning across all subjects in school and is a strong predictor of outcomes. Obviously, we all know that, but just to point you towards the education, endowment and foundation recommendations for literacy, because they are always very helpful. But here, we want to consolidate student wellbeing with lost learning over this last year. That's going to be an ongoing task for all of us as educators. So we want to empower students to take ownership of their learning, reconnect with their peers and routine. That's going to be crucial in the coming weeks. That routine, I feel that Bedrock has, you know, created that consistency for a lot of students over lockdown, and we're so pleased to hear really positive feedback from students. But we want to continue that good work going forward, and it should really help to create continuity for them. But also, it's not like all previous years where you've had a half-term assessment to be able to gauge where students are at. So using Bedrock to gauge and assess where your students are at, to be able to build on their prior knowledge, is going to be crucial, and we want to support you with that. And very importantly, I always think, and especially now, is instilling a bit of fun and enjoyment back into literacy learning, especially after the last difficult months. So the structure, as I've already gone through, I will send this PowerPoint across to you, but it just covers here why we've chosen the structure for today's webinar, according to the research that we often draw from, which I've already touched on. But we essentially, you know, want to get you using data effectively to reinforce your teaching and learning, get parents on board and excited. They haven't had an easy time of it either. And then hopefully together we will make the most of all your time and energy to make sure it is well spent. Don't worry, everything we share is going to be easy to implement. So just a quick reminder before I sort of get ahead of myself, of all the exciting things that have come out, you would have noticed that we've got some new illustrated Bedrock covers. So these are really engaging for the students. When they log in, they can clearly see that they're building that cultural capital. It's very much, I was thinking when I first saw it, like a VR experience. You have the icons coming up, and they really draw you in and compel you to read more. So we're really excited to share that. The power of practice, it's always been embedded in Bedrock from day one. But I think, as we said, with that routine being important after lockdown, this is going to be all the more powerful. Equally, I know a lot of you have been giving students audio feedback, so voice recordings and things. And I think that's going to really take off now. So hopefully lighten your mode. But that's been really powerful for students. And again, they're getting that on Bedrock. They get that human narration and feedback and prose, which we're really pleased, you know, that they're making the most of. And just to touch on, if people aren't making the most of our Latin and Greeks unit, please do have a look at that. This is being further developed in September. So September, we're releasing some really exciting features for you, because obviously morphology, prefixes, suffixes are a crucial part of vocabulary teaching and learning. So that is going to be completely, you know, uplifted even more for both secondary and primary, so Key Stage 2 all the way to Key Stage 5, with, you know, 57 different suffixes, prefixes, roots being taught, and you know, really bolstering that reading comprehension. So that is very exciting. That's a small part. We're also bringing out Bedrock Basic and Advanced Grammar, which is really exciting. And again, that will cover all things literacy for whole school literacy. And I know that Aaron touched on the tier 3 building and teaching subject specific words. We'll move on, because I know a lot of you are using the Bedrock GCSE English already and loving it. So I just wanted that quick reminder and to show you what the student interface looks like now, so you can see what I was talking about a bit, being drawn in by those book covers there. A quick reminder as well, we do have single sign-on. So if you're a Google or Microsoft school, you know, make sure that you are sharing that on your virtual learning environment, because that can be really powerful. I know a lot of you already are, but just an FYI. Now, into how to reinforce classroom practice with Bedrock. As a teacher, I know how handy it is to have sort of handy and useful strategies just to have up your sleeve in the classroom. Now, I think firstly, when students come back, it might be worth reminding them how important their Bedrock learning is. You'll see here from the screen, I've sort of captured literacy across the curriculum, how the tier 2 language that comes up in maths and science and history and English. And as I was putting this together, I was thinking of, the thousands of students 2 years ago in their Macbeth paper who came across the question about Macbeth's aspiration. They've done their revision diligently, but they're thrown on this 30-mark question because they didn't realize that ambition and aspiration were synonyms at this point. So it's really, really crucial. And obviously beyond this, in job interviews and as they outline in the Oxford Language Report, it really is language of power, tier 2 language. If they have that, they really are confident. Right, so let's use it, make the most of Bedrock. You'll notice that all students have their own individual knowledge organizers. I know I'm going back to basics here with what students have on Bedrock, but I just want to make sure that we're like, absolutely, let's make the most of this going back. So a lot of schools are actually treating, all the students coming back as a sort of relaunch of Bedrock to really re-engage and get that competitive edge up, and to make sure that their intervention is data driven and their vocab teaching and learning is also research based and data driven. So the vocab, the knowledge organizer is a great centralized place where you can see our deep learning algorithm in action. Words that students are still working on will populate the middle column, and we will keep teaching them until they get them right. So that's automated, consolidating that learning. Once they have got them right in the post-test, as you know, we give them a memory check quiz on a rolling monthly basis. So it's really, really crucial that we keep revisiting that learning. The revisiting happens automatically on Bedrock, but imagine how powerful it would be if you were doing it in the classroom as well. So just to point out, you can click on students' individual knowledge organisers, and it really lends itself to dialogic marking, so you can add comments and develop what they're doing there. And it's good to always, if students are stuck, okay, where can I go for support? What about your Bedrock knowledge organizer? It's a really great way to instill that independent learning and encourage them to sort of drive that themselves, particularly from Key Stage 3 upwards. Now, as a teacher at class level and school level, you'll be able to see word trends. Now, I know a lot of you will already be using this, but I cannot stress enough how powerful this is for you as teachers. You can see in that middle column, those are the words that 50% of your students are still struggling with. They didn't get them right in the pre-test before their topic, and they haven't quite got that deep and nuanced understanding by the end. So as a teacher, that is really valuable data, and you can pick that out and tease it out in your classroom, because obviously that interaction is also a really powerful part of vocabulary teaching and learning. Equally, I know that 50% of my students are really confident with all the words in the right-hand column. So I would often put this up on the board, on your projector. I would just have it open almost every lesson. If they're doing extended writing, I want to see you use at least 2 Bedrock words. Once you've used them, give them a highlight so I know when I have a look at your book that you've used them. And they're getting more and more aware that they're using that tier 2 language across the curriculum as well. Now, I put together some suggested cooperative learning strategies, but I don't want to teach you to suck eggs. But I found these useful. And I think, given the importance of social and emotional aspects of learning now, and the lost learning, it would be really powerful to marry those two together. Literacy learning whilst also bringing that much needed social interaction for the students. So I've already talked about the extended writing, having it up on the board, referring to the word trends. Another way you could refer to it is, right, I'd like you to choose a word from the board, or you could use the Bedrock posters, plaster them around your classroom and just refer to them that way. But obviously the word trends is more accurate in where they're at. But whatever is available to you, use it. And you could say, right, okay, draw a picture of a Bedrock word, show it to your peers. Can they guess what word it is? Okay, now surround that image with synonyms. Next lesson, revisit that image. Have you added any antonyms? So it's just a nice way as a starter or a plenary to always come back to that language learning, which is crucial for reading comprehension and ultimately, succeeding beyond the school gates. And then the exec pass, I always think exec pass is a really, really useful and quite an unobtrusive way of gauging where your students are at. It's not like, okay, sit down and you're having a test. It's right, okay, you've got a post-it note as you're leaving the classroom. Can you just describe that concept we covered in class in your own words? And then as you flick through those post-it notes, once they leave the lesson, you've got an idea of where you need to be in the next lesson, what you might need to cover and where they're at with their learning. Over to you, Camilla. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. So so we're now moving on to tracking and using some data. So we're going to be exploring ways in which we can motivate and engage students by using the data, which is easily accessible and just a click away. I'm also going to be sharing some of the best practices we have seen from some of our Bedrock schools, which I hope will then give you some inspiration going forward. So here we've got 13 ways that we can motivate our students. So that is something that obviously through lockdown and even going back into school, we really want to keep students motivated or boost it even further. And that all really starts with setting the expectations really clearly, and also giving them a regular reminder of what those expectations are is really, really key. And I think we have, in our reporting and through training with you guys, advised the 2 lessons a week is the optimum amount of lessons, we want students to aim for. If possible, and if you can go beyond the 2 lessons, then that's really, really good. But setting that expectation with students initially is really going to give you that foundation into their successful routines. And what some schools have done is not just look at the student expectation, but as a whole school approach as well, and setting sort of a weekly target for the school to achieve. For example, we've had one of the Harris schools, Harris Academy Orpington. They would announce how many lessons they completed last week as a whole academy, and then how many lessons they need to complete this week. And they set a reminder for that and a dedicated time where everyone will log on to do Bedrock at the same time. So they've really got a whole school approach there, if that is achievable. And we then have other teachers that have found ways to find different avenues to reach students to set those reminders or motivate them. So, for example, we've had one of our teachers, Tara from Hailsham Community College. She went on to TikTok and created a really wonderful video to remind and encourage students to do their Bedrock lessons. So really going above and beyond, using all different platforms to get students going. So we then go on to ways that you can celebrate the student's success, basically. And there's lots and lots of ways that we do that through the data of Bedrock. And then what's been really great to see is how some of our schools have set their own amazing ideas and incentives to motivate students and keep the engagement levels nice and high. And I'm just going to go through some best practices that I've come across, and so please do also feel free to share your best practices with us. We do love to hear them, and we will share them with the community. So I was just speaking with Joe yesterday, actually, at Harris Academy Peckham, and they are doing a Bedrockathon this week, which is an interform challenge to see which students can get their entire class to complete 2 lessons in the space of 1 hour, alongside some fun games. And those games include picture matching, a story game using the screenshots from Bedrock, even using some of their school slang into Bedrock words. And they're also doing some really nice positive phone calls home to students who complete their Bedrock. So there's a lot of positivity and creativity going on there. We also have one of our other schools, John Smeaton Academy, who regularly post weekly and half-termly their top Bedrockers and Smeaton superstars on Twitter for completing enough lessons. They get a £10 voucher. And they even posted a YouTube video on Twitter, which was dedicated to announcing their winners in each year group. So they've really made their students feel special there. So it's a really nice one. And I recently also saw that Dame Elizabeth Cadbury School used Twitter, so it's a really popular platform, to announce their top students. They had photos of their students with their certificates and letters home. And again, a lot of schools will use Twitter to post their stars of the week. I know Burton Borough does that. And then even some schools are looking at providing a form group or class, a really fun school trip for who has been the most consistent with their Bedrock. So a few different approaches there, which will really keep that motivation high, challenge the students, push them a little bit more, and make it really exciting. And that comes from building upon that set expectation and routine you've already got with the students and taking it a little bit further. We have also been producing our own regular certificates last half term, and going forward we will be doing it again. So last half term we sent out some certificates for our top Bedrock schools based on their usage of Bedrock, and I think a lot of schools shared that on Twitter, and we will be doing that again as we come up to Easter, so do keep an eye out for some more certificates. And we've seen some amazing results from even the competitions that we have put into place for all Bedrock schools. So last term we had the prize draw for 100 students, and that was very successful. We saw some really amazing results with the number of lessons being completed and the consistency that came up from that as well. And we will be doing that again. I don't know if you guys have seen already, but this time we've got a new competition, which we'll touch on again later in this webinar. But it's again looking at keeping that engagement nice and high. And do tag us on all these social media platforms, whether that be Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can use our own badges, certificates that we have. Students will get, as you can see on the screen here, these badges and certificates within their accounts, and we will have some graphics that you can use as well when posting on social media. And so where can you guys actually get this data from to celebrate your students? How are you going to find out who your top students are, essentially? So we have leaderboards within your dashboards. We now have 4 leaderboards, which will cover all levels of engagement, all kinds of learners, whether that be looking at progress or engagement. So we've got topic completions, points, progress made, and time spent. So we really recommend that you alternate between the different leaderboards. You'll then be capturing all kinds of learners here, and it's really easy to just pull out your top performing students from the lists here. You can filter by year groups and classes, set specific date ranges, or look all time. So it's a really easy way to just get those top students whenever you need them. So we also have recently introduced our points logic, which I think most of you should be aware of now and seen that filtering through into all of the reporting on Bedrock. And it just means that there are more ways for students to be acknowledged with all their hard work that they're doing. And that will be through any activity they do, they will be allocated points. So I've just got up here again all the different points that they can be allocated for all kinds of activities. So not just lessons. You don't need to change the messaging to students. It really is still asking them to complete 2 lessons a week. But we know now that whatever they do on Bedrock, they will get points to work towards So even though we're saying get those 20 points for a green smiley face, they could be doing other activities as well to get there. So you can still maintain that messaging to students of 2 lessons a week, so keep it really simple, but you'll be finding that you'll have lots more students to praise alongside those other students as well. So, and again, this weekly review also on your dashboard is one of the easiest ways to see what your students are doing and praise from them. All teachers have access to this, without logging into the dashboard, waiting for it in your email. So it's something that you can easily just use, and with the recognition, it will encourage the students and motivate them to dive a bit deeper into their learning. The points logic has taken effect across all of our reporting. So the monthly reporting now has the praise, encourage, and intervene categories as well. The report for February usage was sent out yesterday, so you would have now seen this come to light in our new approach. And you can see an example here, lots of nice green praising going on. So again, super easy to compare class activity and reward from here as well. You've also got your student engagement analysis report. So this is a really good report, which is a new report where you can go into your dashboard, get the export. You've now got a notifications tab to tell you when your export is ready, and you can do all kinds of filtering to look at when students logged in, if they've done the alpha test or not, and what points they are achieving each week. So when looking at those long-term competitions and incentives that cover a whole term, this really is the best report to get that data from. You can put in any date range starting any day of the week, and it means that you can see how many students are in that praise category, how many you can encourage, and then another list of students where you might want to see what's going on a little bit further. Do we need to reach out to parents at all, and use that as a way of increasing engagement as well. So now back over to Alex.
Thank you, Camilla. As you can see by this stage, we are so committed to closing those learning gaps. And what has really been revealed over the last year is the importance of homeschool communication and partnerships. So we are really proud of our parent engagement feature. The fact that you can go in, find parent logins to share, but also see a real quick glance on your parent engagement tab in reporting. How many of your parents have logged in and are now linked and are giving their children a quick nudge because they're getting those weekly email reminders, and can see their knowledge organizer, and also they can do the dialogic marking, and they can hear the words and get that student friendly description and example as well. Parents are always blown away by how challenging the material is on Bedrock. And when I speak to them, I say, well, that is where they need to be at SAT level and GCSE level. And that is what students are confronted with on a daily basis across the curriculum. So it really is a nice sort of eye-opener for lots of parents. And it's reassuring for parents to be able to see the progress being made and actually see a word level, right, okay, those are words that my child is learning. I'm going to bring it up at the dinner table, or I might ask them about it, or see if I can use the Bedrock talking prompts to really get my child using the tricky tier 2 vocabulary within their speech, as well as in their writing at school, and when they're reading. So it's really, really powerful. Now, you might have parents that are logging in but still hadn't really been communicated to how Bedrock works. There are lots of moving parts, and so it is always worth sort of trying to communicate. I have in the past, before lockdown, done parent consultations, and it's really powerful during an open day to do a PowerPoint presentation on Bedrock, and we're more than happy to support you with the resources needed for that. But obviously, as things stand, we haven't had open days and things, so it might be worth just reminding parents, right, this is the resource that your child has access to and needs to be completing at least twice a week, and this is is how it works. Now, this document I will send across afterwards as well. It's a nice sort of straightforward document where they can see the words that they're learning, and how it works across the key stages, and how actually it's a real long-term solution. We've got now quite a few students who have been on Bedrock at primary school level, and then they're on it at secondary school level, and it's a really, really powerful tool to bridge word gaps at that crucial transition. Equally, the crucial transition from Key Stage 3 to Key Stage 4. And I know, Camilla, you've spoken to a couple of sixth form colleges now as well who are using Bedrock and really benefiting from it. So you can see how it is a real long-term solution, and parents really appreciate that. So connecting with them is crucial. In terms of managing workload, don't worry, this is a short part. I know a lot of you will be keen to, getting other things done today. So we did want to keep it nice and short and get to your questions at the end. But this is just a nice thing for you to share with your team, how they can easily make the most of Bedrock. Firstly, we've touched on it throughout this webinar, but we have a plethora of resources to support you in the classroom and get you to make the most of Bedrock. Some of you will have noticed that our YouTube channel has been, built upon over this time. You'll hear my voice in it time and again, but it's useful guidance to share with students and parents and other teachers. And there's a nice short one on the Bedrock points, just as a reminder, and to share with your staff. Equally, you've got the talking prompts, flashcards, posters. I know that students will be wanting to return to sort of welcoming and inviting classrooms. So feel free to, send off for our posters, or we can send them across to you after this. We've got full posters of all of our illustrated book covers, so they're really great to put on the wall. I would have plastered my wall in them, particularly as they go beyond the curriculum. And we've got Jekyll and Hyde posters, we've got Bedrock topic posters, so really useful. And I suggested at the beginning, pointing towards the topics posters. I got a question from Annabelle about, having a mixed ability class and reinforcing teaching and learning when using your word trends. You can select different blocks, and also if your students have devices and are allowed to use them in school, they could actually refer to their own knowledge organizer, and that'll be a truly individualized learning experience. But equally, have those Bedrock posters visible, hand them to science teachers if it's an Alan Turing poster, hand them to maths teachers or computer teachers. Are computers bad for you? The rise of social media. All of these topics are cross curricular, and it's great to see students making those links. And Camilla, this is your lovely team.
Yeah, so just make use of your account manager. Basically, we are here to provide you with unlimited training. So whether that be refresher training, data coaching, whatever you or your team need, we are always happy to book a session in with you, whether that's one-to-one or as a whole staff meeting. We can easily slot into your weekly meetings that you might already have in place. And obviously it's really easy for us to share screen with you, dive into your actual school reporting and look at your students' data and help you find what it is that you need to make the most of your data. So please do just let us know if you want a call. Obviously you can call us anytime anyways. You've all got our email addresses, I'm sure, as well. So we are always happy to book that in. And we do have for the students, a support team as well. So our support inbox is there to help students answering any questions, if they aren't directly with you, and it will lighten your load as well by using that support inbox. So we always recommend advising your students to do that too. But we're here to help, you guys. So please let us know for any training that you need. We will book it in for you.
And you'll have noticed all those new features. Often it's really, really handy just have someone to talk you through. After this webinar, in a week's time, you might think to yourself, I need a little refresh training. That's absolutely fine. Just contact your account manager. It's really lovely to see so many comments of people saying, oh, Cameron's great. And it's just lovely to see, building that relationship and we're always here for you. So we've got a couple of new questions. So should we go across to that, Camilla?
Yeah, sure. So I think Andrew said, do you do
Oh,
any training?
actually,
Oh,
before we go to
yeah.
questions, you did mention the prize draw. Do you want to explain it?
Yes, so we have sort of sent some information out about this and posted about it a fair bit as well. But essentially, our next competition is running this term, so until the Easter holidays, where students will be entered into a prize draw. So it's for all Bedrock schools, and the top prize is to win a laptop. And then we've got the 50 students can be eligible for winning a £10 voucher, and all they need to do is achieve 120 points in this term. So just a reminder that 2 lessons a week is 20 points, so it's going to be really easy for them to really get to that 120 mark. It's just meaning consistency there. So we have also mentioned about posting on Twitter for World Book Day in relation to this competition. So if you're able to do that through your school Twitter accounts, that would be amazing. Students don't need to post anything on Twitter. It is just the school accounts where you can tag us. But that is the next prize draw coming up. There is a banner within the student dashboard and teacher dashboard, and there is a link on the banner. So if you click it, it will take you to the page where it explains the full competition. So I'm sure your students might have already been doing that, but do take a look next time you log into your dashboard at the details of the competition. And then we've also got here about our referral discount. So some of you might know, and I know some of you have made use of this, when you recommend us to another school, you will receive £250 off your renewal or vouchers. That is our way of saying thank you very much for giving some really nice positive feedback about us to other schools and sharing your experiences with schools. So yeah, that is to round up the competition and the referral discount.
Yeah, just a question from Noor. How do the schools participate in the Bedrock Stars Draws Prize? There is more information online, but all the students need to do is that 120 Bedrock points. So the expected amount of lessons in that time in a half term, and then yourselves posting via social media. I would say the last prize draw, it was very popular, wasn't it? It had lots of students being really competitive, confirming with us that they were eligible. They don't have to do anything. All they do is work through Bedrock. If they're reaching that threshold, they'll automatically be put forward for it. So yeah, it's really exciting.
It is essentially 2 lessons a week. So we're not asking them to do any more than your original expectation.
Yeah. So going to questions and answers, I think we have answered most of the questions throughout. Just looking over. Thank you so much for using the questions tab, and we've been answering. This is one that does come up. So Angela Jackmart, do you do any training in schools? That is part of exactly what you as account managers do, isn't it, Camilla? You're more than happy to speak at departmental meetings virtually.
Yes, exactly. Obviously everything has been online for a while now, and it's so easy to do that. So whatever meeting you have with the team, whatever the scenario, we can just be on on a Google Meet, a Zoom call, whatever it is you guys use, and we can then provide you with training in that meeting essentially.
Yes, and all the resources, as we said, we're going to share after this. I know James has been very helpfully sharing links with you, but do be reassured that we will follow up this webinar with more resources and all the resources we referred to. But I would just say, so we've got a couple of teachers saying, I'd like to see it through the student interface. We can put together a demo account for you to see it through the student experience of Bedrock. So that's not a problem. All you need to do is contact your account manager. Obviously, Amy Gardner, I've seen it now, so you'll definitely get one. But if ever any of you would like anything, please do contact your account manager.
There's a question from Rachel just about parent engagement, Alex. I don't know
Yeah.
if you wanted to address that one with her about it?
It is very, very common, Rachel. It's an ongoing concern for a lot of schools, is that parent engagement, and school parent partnerships have always been something that's been, you know, an ongoing something to work on. In 2018, the Education Endowment Foundation put together really helpful steps, you know, focusing all communication on learning, teaching and learning. And with Bedrock, you can have that conversation. So, you know, when you have those parent conversations on the phone or parents' evening, you've got the data in front of you. And then you can say, look, this data is available to you. Do you want to, I'll help you log in. And it's so straightforward. All they do is click on the sign up and you give them the code and then they're away. So, yes, it might be perceived that you'll have little parent engagement, but I know that there's is it one of your Harris schools, Camilla, who's really engaged parents, and what they've done is the English department has been driving Bedrock, but they've made sure that tutors can also see the Bedrock data, and so tutors, when they're doing that weekly call home, they can say, oh, have you got your Bedrock link code? And the parent might say, oh, I'm not sure. They can see if they've got it and whether they've used it. So they can just prompt them and talk through it on the phone. I know, having gone into schools, actually sometimes it's as simple as, right, I've got a moment with you, let's just do it together. Most parents will have their smartphones on them in that moment. So it is that quick and easy that you can do it with them in that moment. Obviously, we know sending letters home, they can get lost. So, you know, if you do have text messages, that's also a good way of communicating with parents, as is, you know, email. But once they have linked with us, we do all the heavy lifting for you. We're sending parents that weekly email to nudge their child. So it really is worth getting them done. And so getting the tutors involved can be really powerful. Sorry, were you going to add something there, Camilla?
I was just going to say, yeah, how easy it is to send out the information. But in addition, if parents might need a bit of support with creating their own accounts, please do lean on us. They might come directly to you and say, how do I sign up? Once you've given them their access code, we have got a template letter which you can use to distribute those access codes, but it does include our contact information. So do advise them to lean on us for that support with the setup, because you might not be too sure exactly what to advise. So it will just mean that you won't have too much else to
Extra
deal
workload,
with.
yes. That's a
Just
very,
direct
very
them
good
to us.
point. Yeah, it's a very good point. The mail merge with the letter is really straightforward, and a lot of schools will get their data manager to do that. I know there was one admin staff who she actually clocked a number of miles by hand delivering hers
Yeah,
over lockdown.
yeah, she was raising money and doing a walking marathon, which was amazing. One way to distribute account
Yes.
details.
But yes, please do. If in doubt, send them to us, because that's what we're here for. You're not, you know, there for technical support. You're there to teach. So we're more than happy to take that load. I don't have anything to add apart from to conclude that, you know, we are committed to closing learning gaps, and I hope this webinar has filled you with a lot of you know, useful strategies that you can put into place, and proactive things that you can do, and we can help you with, to move forward and make sure that, you know, tomorrow World Book Day is a great success. Next week, when students return to school, is a great success. And going forward, we can really address the gaps that are ever growing. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.